You know my name, but you don't know my truth. Anne Boleyn. The adulteress, the witch, the woman who deserved to lose her head. That's what they taught you, isn't it? But what have I told you? It's all a lie. I was born to be used. Daughter of an ambitious diplomat, raised to enchant kings, trained to smile. While being moved like a piece on a chessboard, I never controlled. But no one expected me to fall in love, even less. That the king would fall in love with me, Henry VIII, the most powerful man in England, married, impatient, obsessed with a male heir. He desired me, but I wanted more than a golden bed. I wanted to be queen. And I succeeded at a cost so high, it still echoes in the silence of the Tower of London. They say I was ambitious. But no man was ever beheaded for wanting the throne. I was. They say I was unfaithful. But who would be foolish enough to betray her own executioner, they say. But they don't listen. Today I speak of pain, of betrayal, of the bloody theater that turned me into the most feared and hated woman in the English court. This is the forbidden story of Anne Boleyn, and maybe after hearing it, you'll never trust the history books again. I wasn't born a queen, not even noble enough to be remembered through the ages. I was born like so many others, the daughter of a man hungry for power. My father, Thomas Boleyn, was a sharp-tongued diplomat whose eyes were always locked on the halls of power. My mother, a shadow, silent, obedient, as if she already knew the fate of women in those days. Early on, I understood I did not belong to myself. I belonged to the gaze that judged me, the marriage my father negotiated, the king who might want. Smile, Anne. Don't talk too much. Never look a man directly in the eyes unless you want to be possessed. At 12, I was sent to the French court. France. A place of art, desire, and decadence disguised as nobility. There, I learned the art of performance, to dance without being vulgar, laugh without showing teeth, seduce without touching. I learned how to be a woman, as they wanted a woman to be: ornamental, seductive, dangerous, but never free. I saw princesses offered like trophies. I saw lovers traded like garments. I saw blood on white sheets the morning after arranged marriages, and I swore that if I ever had power, I would not be just another king's concubine. But every chessboard has its rules, and every piece too. Bold is the first to fall. I returned to England with a reputation. Frenchified, they said. They meant it as an insult, as if the freedom to think and the sparkle in my eyes were sins. At Henry VIII's court, everyone played a filthy game, that only women paid the price with their bodies or their heads, and that's where they saw me, or rather, where he saw me. Henry VIII, tall, charismatic, fiery, and married to Catherine of Aragon for almost 20 years. He had a daughter, but he wanted a son, an heir, a legacy. And he thought I was the path. I could have been just another name. But I refused. Yes, I refused the King of England. I said no, with my eyes, with silence, with distance. And that awoke something in him, not desire, but obsession. It was in that exact moment that I stopped being a lady of the court and became a threat. Because when a woman denies what everyone desires, she stops being desired and starts being feared. I didn't know it then, but the thread that would tie my body to the executioner's blade had already been stretched. He wanted me, and when a king wants, everyone expects you to say yes, but I said no, not out of pride, not as a game, but because I knew that a woman's desired body would sooner or later become a weapon used against her. Henry VIII was not just a man. He was the sun around which everyone revolved, and when that sun shines on you, you glow, but when it turns away, you burn. It started with letters. Sweet words, eternal promises, verses copied from French troubadours, but beneath the delicate handwriting, there was urgency. Hurry, possessiveness. I rose in the court, gifts, titles, invitations, but I always kept my distance. Because deep down, I desired him too. And that scared me more than any rumor. The more I refused him, the more unhinged he became. Queen Catherine was respected, but to him, Baron, no male heir, no future. Then he said, Anne, I don't just want you. I want to make you my queen. I stopped breathing. To be the king's mistress was common, but to be his wife was to declare war against everything and everyone, against the rightful queen, against Rome, against England itself. And yet, I said yes. After all, what woman would refuse to be queen? The king moved heaven and hell for me. He challenged the Pope, broke away from the Catholic Church, created his own religion just to marry me. An empire for a kiss, a faith for a ring. The people whispered my name with hatred. They called me witch, sorceress, serpent, said I had bewitched the king, that the blood of all the priests killed in the purge was on my hands. Maybe it was, but what about the blood of the women before me? Silenced, erased, locked away in convents. No one told their stories. In 1533, we married in secret. Shortly after, I was crowned queen, Queen of England, the woman for whom an empire bled. But in that crowd, I knew no one applauded from the heart. Not even the castle walls seemed to welcome me. And then the cruelest truth, the curse that always falls upon women who promise a son. I became pregnant. The entire kingdom held its breath, hoping for a male heir. Henry looked at me with faith, and I, with fear. In September, I gave birth to a girl, Elizabeth, my daughter, my blood, my light. But for Henry, a disappointment. He hid it, smiled, said more children would come. But in that moment, something changed in his gaze. Love gave way to doubt. And when a king begins to doubt, everyone around him prepares to strike. My throne was made of gold, but it was also an altar of sacrifice. Henry began to disappear, not in body, but in soul. The once hungry gaze turned cold, the touch indifferent, the words measured, cautious, as if he were speaking to something too fragile to confront or too precious to destroy. But I felt it, the ice growing between us, and where there is ice, cracks soon follow. The walls of the castle began to whisper. Sir Thomas Wyatt, a poet, an old suitor of mine. They said he still desired me and that perhaps I had returned the feeling. Fantasies of a wounded heart. But in court, fantasies are as dangerous as blades. Another name surfaced, Mark Smeaton. A musician, a simple man, not noble. They said he looked at me too long. They said, I looked back, lies, but lies in court are seeds. And my garden was already dry. As I fought to keep Henry by my side, others sowed doubt. My uncle, Thomas Howard. My father, now fearful. Even my sister, Mary, the one who had once been the king's mistress, avoided my eyes when I entered. There was no more loyalty, only silence. And in that place, silence was a sentence. I began to lose children. 1 miscarriage, 2, 3, no sons, no heir. Henry looked at me as if I were a failed prophecy. And slowly, his heart turned to another name, Jane Seymour. She was my opposite, submissive, quiet, no sparkle, no threat. While I set the palace corridors on fire with my presence, she whispered promises of peace. And the king, tired of war, chose. Her silence over my storm. Soon, the interrogations began. Mark Smeaton was arrested, tortured, and he confessed to what never happened. He said I had taken him into my royal bed. More names followed. George Boleyn, my own brother. Francis, Weston, William Brereton, Henry Norris, accused of being my lovers, of conspiracy, of treason. Some denied it, others chose silence. But it was already too late. The king needed a reason, and they gave him a lie. Wrapped as justice, on May 2nd, 1536, I was arrested and taken to the Tower of London, the same tower where years before Henry had sworn eternal love. Now it stood as my tomb. Rain streamed down the stones like clotted blood. My ladies wept. I did not, because I knew the game was over. And in the game of kings, even the queen is disposable. The tower smelled of iron, of mold, and of fear. There, the ghosts didn't walk. They whispered. They surrounded me. Every step I took was watched by invisible eyes. England's past had too many ghosts, and I would soon be one of them. The walls were cold, the chains symbolic. I didn't need shackles on my wrists. My name was already my prison. They gave me a cell, small, with a single window, and through it the sky mocked me. Bright blue, as if the world outside wasn't about to forget my name. My ladies tried to console me. They touched my hair, whispered prayers. But faith in that place felt like a cruel joke. I knew about the trial. I knew I would have no voice. I knew my guilt had been decided before any evidence was presented. Henry did not visit me. Not a letter, not a gesture. The man who had torn Europe apart to have me now erased me with silence. When I was brought to trial, I held my chin high. My posture was all I had left. They accused me of adultery, incest, conspiracy against the king. Before men who once kissed my hand, I now heard insults. They called me lewd, manipulative, a monster. George, my brother, was also tried. He died. First up, the date of my execution was set, May 19th. They told me it would be a sword, not an axe. French, quick, precise, a favor. A macabre luxury. I spent the night before in prayer, but not for salvation. I prayed for Elizabeth, my daughter, the one who would carry my name. In the shadow of my death, on the morning of the execution, I wore a red dress, red, so the blood wouldn't stain my dignity, red, so even my end would be remembered. I walked to the scaffold with steady steps. People watched in silence. Some cried, others just stared. I looked up at the sky one last time and smiled, because even in that moment, even with my neck on the block, I was still a queen, and I never regretted living like one. They say I died at 35, that the French blade severed my neck with precision, that my body dropped like any traitor's, but what they don't say is what remained, not of my body, but of my presence. The scaffold was cleaned. The crowd dispersed. The king remarried less than 2 weeks later, but in the chambers, in the whispered nights of court, my name was not forgotten, because Anne Boleyn did not vanish. She haunted. I haunted the throne. I haunted the halls. I haunted the crown, now stained with blood. Did Henry get the male heir he so desperately wanted? No. Jane Seymour died shortly after childbirth. And the heir, fragile, sick, dead young, but Elizabeth, the daughter he despised, became the most powerful queen in English history. The daughter of an adulteress, the daughter of a traitor, the daughter of a worthless woman. She reigned for 45 years and turned England into an empire. It was my blood in her veins. It was my strength on her throne. They took my life, but they could not erase my legacy. And the cruelest part of it all, Henry died fat, sick, paranoid, surrounded by advisors who feared him, and ghosts he pretended not to see. They say that in the still of night, he whispered my name, and they say he saw my face in mirrors, and They say he dreamed of the day of the execution and woke up screaming to the sound of a sword slicing through the air. I died, but he never had peace because my body fell. But my shadow never bowed again. And now, you know, the story that was hidden, the truth behind the red dress, the woman who burned as a witch but rose as a legend. The next block will reveal what history tried to bury forever. The letters, the traces, the signs that it was all a carefully planned conspiracy. The truth is only just beginning to be unearthed. They erased my name from portraits, destroyed seals, tore up documents. But not all ink disappears, and not all silence remains silent forever. Years after my death, traces began to surface. Hidden letters, ciphered notes, glances recorded. In the margins of royal archives, a historian found fragments of a letter written by me, never sent. Addressed to Henry. In it, I wrote, "You raise me like the sun, but forget me like a shadow. If death is your will, I shall face it with dignity, but I will never say I am guilty of what I did not commit." That letter never reached his hands, or perhaps it did, and was buried along with the guilt. Other records began to be re-examined. My trial contained gaps, contradictory witnesses, erased statements. Mark Smeaton, the tortured musician, was the only one who confessed. But his confession came after 3 days of pain, deprivation, and fear. George Boleyn, my brother, was accused of incest, based on rumors, no evidence, no logic, just the desperate will to destroy me at any cost. The truth? I was used as a ladder, and then as a shield. Henry needed an heir. And when that didn't happen, he needed an escape, a silent queen, an obedient wife. A new promise. And Thomas Cromwell, the king's right hand, orchestrated it all. He saw my influence grow, my power unsettle. My ideas challenged. I spoke. I debated, I disagreed, and in that era, a thinking woman was a threat. Cromwell moved the pieces. He chose who would fall with me. He convinced the king that I was a cancer, and the king chose to believe. Some letters show secret meetings between Cromwell and court members weeks before my arrest. Discussions about inheritance, about legitimacy, about how to protect the image of the throne. To protect the throne by sacrificing me. Decades later, Elizabeth, my daughter, ordered an investigation into the documents from my trial. She found inconsistencies, she found lies, but she never spoke of it publicly, because admitting the injustice against me would be admitting the crown was built on innocent blood. And yet, in her heart, she knew. That's why she never married. Why she ruled alone. Why she wore necklaces with my emblem hidden beneath her garments. The world may try to silence the truth, but history always finds a way to whisper through the centuries, and I am that whisper. The woman who died in silence, but who now is finally heard. They called her a bastard, illegitimate, the daughter of a witch. Elizabeth grew up in the shadow of a name many tried to erase, mine. She grew up surrounded by murmurs, doubts, and veiled threats. And yet she blossomed. After Henry's death. The throne passed from hand to hand like a cursed object. 3 monarchs in less than 15 years. Blood, fever, instability. And then she came. Elizabeth, the woman everyone said could never rule. The daughter of the beheaded woman. The heir of a scandal. But Elizabeth did not ask for permission. She rose, and with her, my spirit rose too. She wasn't like the others. She didn't bow to advisors. She didn't marry to legitimize her power. She didn't let the church decide her path. She was the daughter of the woman who dared to say no to the king. She ruled with a firm hand, with sharp words, with a commanding presence. And ironically, they called her the Virgin Queen. as if the fact that she belonged to no man was her greatest virtue, but her true virtue was freedom. Elizabeth turned England into a powerhouse. She defeated the Spanish Armada. She championed art, science, and diplomacy. Shakespeare wrote under her reign. The world bowed before her. And still, in quiet nights, Elizabeth would sit before a mirror and touch a locket she wore around her neck. Inside it, my portrait, hidden like a silent prayer. She couldn't speak of me publicly. It was dangerous. It still was. But in her gestures, in her eyes, in her decisions, I was there. Present, silent, alive. They thought they had buried me, but they planted a seed. Elizabeth was my answer to history. My cry echoed for decades, and even when her life came to an end and the throne passed again to hands that never knew me, the people knew the woman who shaped the world was the daughter of the woman who dared. Daughter of the witch, daughter of the queen, daughter of Anne Boleyn. And in that moment, everything in me rested because I no longer needed justice. I had left behind a legacy. History is written by the victors or the survivors, but sometimes it's written by cowards. Men with pens in their hands and fear in their hearts. And in those cases, truth bleeds in silence. My name was written in books as a synonym for treason, as if I were the Eve of a new English Eden, the woman who made the king's sin, fall, collapse. But what they never said is that I only survived. In a world built to devour me, for centuries, they painted me with cold eyes, with seductive lips, with hands stained by ambition. The portraits were touched to make me less human. The words, shaped so I'd be a warning, not an inspiration. They made me myth, monster, twisted moral, and that is the greatest violence. Because it wasn't enough for me to die once. I was murdered piece by piece. In every generation that chose to repeat lies instead of listening to whispers, I was called a witch for refusing to be silent, an adulteress for refusing to bow, a manipulator for playing the same game they had always played. But now, you've heard me. And maybe you realize that the truth isn't beautiful. It's raw. It's bitter. It's uncomfortable, but it is freeing. How many others were erased like me? How many voices buried under the weight of thrones and dogmas? History lies, but it also leaves traces. And it's up to us, those who still listen, who still feel, to unearth what was hidden, not to glorify, not to idealize, but to acknowledge. I was Anne Boleyn, the woman who said no, the woman who became a crown and became dust. But if my story has reached you, it's because not every witch burns forever. Some light fires that burn through the centuries. Now that you've heard me, close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath. Imagine the sound of a sword slicing through the wind, but making no noise, because political deaths don't scream. They whisper. You thought you knew this story. You thought you knew who Anne Boleyn was. The adulteress woman, the ambitious queen, the witch of England, but maybe. Everything you knew was shaped to keep you blind. And now you have a choice. You can keep living inside the official version of history, or you can start listening to the voices it tried to bury. Voices like mine. I'm Anne Boleyn. And this wasn't just the story of my death. It was the story of a woman's resistance in a world that would rather destroy her than see her rise to power. And if this story moved you, share it, not for me, but for all the others who are still being silenced. Because when you spread the truth, you weaken the empire of lies. Like, comment, subscribe, and come with me to unearth the stories the world tried to forget. I'll see you in the next video. And remember, the official history is just the rough draft. Those with courage write the rest.